Good evening, everyone. I'm Gautam Yadama, Dean of the School of Social Work. Welcome. Thank you for being here this evening. Welcome to this event, the second in a series, a conversation on racial trauma with Resmaa Menakem. We're so grateful, Resmaa, for you to return and engage us in the School of Social Work. The Boston College School of Social Work, together with the Forum on Racial Justice in America, is proud to present a conversation on racial trauma with Resmaa Menakem tonight. Before I go any further tonight, let us remember Dante Wright, mowed down and never allowed to thrive, flourish, and live out his life. If I could ask for a moment of silence, please. James Baldwin, in If Beale Street Could Talk, said, one of the most terrible, most mysterious things about a life is that a warning can be heeded only in retrospect. Too late, he writes. This is the situation we find ourselves in with so many of our young Black men and women. That is why the school's particular focus and a conversation with Resmaa and the work we're doing in our curriculum is so important and mission central. This event is an outcome of synergies between two strategic initiatives within the School of Social Work, our Black Leadership Initiative and Trauma Integration Initiative. Both of these innovative new programs in the School of Social Work are designed to prepare students for cutting-edge practice in the field of social work that move us beyond the typical curriculum found in schools of social work. To learn more about the Trauma Integration Initiative and the Black Leadership Initiative, please do visit Boston College School of Social Work website. Let me now turn to my colleague, Kathleen Flinton, Assistant Professor of the Practice, to start us off. And I will come back at the end of our evening today. Thank you. Kathleen?
Thanks, Gautam. Good evening, everyone, and Ramadan Mubarak to the Muslim members of our community. I wanted to start off by giving us an overview of where we are hoping to go this evening so that you know what to anticipate. First of all, this, as Gautam mentioned, is a follow-up of a guided conversation from March 25th, which Resmaa joined us in the larger university for. If you haven't had a chance to watch that recording, it is available on the School of Social Work website. We are so privileged and thrilled to have Resmaa join us this evening, but we also have limited time with him, and as such have made the difficult decision to not have a Q&A section so that we can spend as much time garnering his wisdom as we can during the time that we are with him. A reminder that this is being recorded, and we are not a webinar this evening, we are a meeting. So your boxes are visible on the screen. So to please participate in a way that feels comfortable for you as far as having your camera on or off. After our guided conversation with Resmaa this evening, we will be moving into breakout rooms for some time with guided exercises of embodied practice for disruptive healing as outlined in Resmaa's book, My Grandmother's Hands. There will be two options for breakout rooms. They're both affinity spaces, one for bodies of culture and one for white-bodied people. You can select into the one that you would like to join and where you would like to spend your time in thinking about embodied practice and disruptive healing. So I'd like to start off by us together taking a couple of breaths to arrive ourselves to our time together tonight and to allow ourselves to settle into our shared space. So go ahead and take a couple of breaths in. And as you do so, just check in with your body and see if there's anything you need to do to allow yourself to settle in to this space. And as you breathe, allow yourself to arrive here, to feel the connection of the others in this space across the distance. And to set an intentionality of openness for yourself this evening to our shared and collective experience. So one last breath, please. And then I will turn it over to Sam for our land acknowledgement and then to open our conversation with Resmaa.
Thank you, Kathleen. I don't think I knew I needed that settling to get us started. Good evening, everyone. We at Boston College would like to acknowledge with respect that Boston College itself occupies the ancestral homelands of those American Indian tribes that have inhabited this land for centuries, including the Massachusetts people and their neighbors, the Wampanoag and the Nipmuc peoples. We pay our respect to elders both past and present, and we name the genocide, displacement, and continued injustices carried out in the name of progress. With humility, we recognize and respect all Indigenous peoples, their histories, and ties to the land. Boston College School of Social Work encourages you to learn more and support decolonization efforts, such as land reclamation and native language education efforts. Indigenous rights are connected to all human rights. So tonight, I'm going to skip past the typical bio reading that we did in our last meeting. I think many of you were present in our last meeting, and there's just so much going on into the world that I thought it would be appropriate to start with just a check-in. So I want to say welcome to Resmaa. It's good to see you again, my brother. It's been not very long, about 2 weeks. It's great to have you back. I want to let you know that the Boston College community had an overwhelmingly positive reaction to your visit of just a few weeks ago. I got so many text messages and phone calls, and people were just very excited. So I just want to say that we welcome you into this space, and thank you for that. I know that over the last several weeks, you've been very involved in the Chauvin trial.
Yeah.
And of course, we want to acknowledge, the unjust murder that just occurred in Minneapolis. And so I don't think it would be right unless I started the meeting by just saying, how are you doing? Like, what's going on with you?
I'm when I get asked that question, there's this part of me that wants to lean in to the kind of making everybody comfortable, right? There's this thing, I think, especially in Black bodies, that have been conditioned in us to make sure that, especially when it comes to white bodies, to make sure that white bodies have some sense of comfort, right? And that we don't do anything to disrupt white bodies, because that could potentially have you losing your job, losing your some position, losing your life. And I think Black bodies a lot of times go to the genuflect to deference to white bodies. There's a conditioning that I believe has happened where the white body expects deference from Black bodies. And when they don't get that deference, there are repercussions to not giving white bodies deference. And so there's a part of me, when you ask that question, there's a part of me that wants to go, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. I'm learning through my work, my discernment, through my through just the way that creation is evolving through me, that I'm starting to answer that question by telling people how I'm sleeping. And I'm not sleeping well. My wife told me last night that I was moaning a lot in my sleep, and she said it felt like pain. I'm not eating right. A lot of just stuff I shouldn't be eating. A lot of candy, a lot of chips, a lot of just foul shit. Um, my thoughts are really muddled, like my whereas I think there are times where I'm really sharp on things. Just lately, it's been feeling like I'm like trudging through mud. And so I've been taken to the tact of answering that question by telling people really like how I'm moving. And I've been asking people directly too, like not how you doing, but how are you sleeping? How are you eating? Who's holding you? Which I think is an important question now. And has always been when it comes to situations like we're dealing with Brother Wright and have been dealing with Brother Floyd and Sister Brianna, is who's holding you through this? Are you the one that everybody comes to in the family um, for sustenance, for solace? And many times we don't check on those people. We don't check on the strong people. And so I've been taking to asking people really how they're sleeping as opposed to how they're doing. Because I know for Black bodies, that deference piece has been raped and beat into us. And so that's how I'm doing, brother.
Thank you for that. I right after you came and visited us the first time, my dad called me after I sent him a recording of the video, and he said, listen, I saw your conversation and I heard everything that Resmaa had to say. And while you were talking, I got real worried about you. And I said, worried about me? What do you mean? And he says, well, that was pretty Black conversation at a very white institution. What if something happened? And it was just, as I get older, I start to realize the position that my parents have been in their entire lives watching me grow up, and the kind of worry that they experience just over something like being Black.
Yeah. See, this brother, this is the stuff that so I came to this with y'all today and started listening and the stuff that people were saying at the beginning. One of the things that came to me as I was listening was this idea of social work. Like when people hear social work, they hear a long-haired ponytail dude with a, going, white dude with a dashiki or, whatever whatever it is, right? But and I think that notion of social work has to evolve, and I don't think it has evolved very well. It has not. To me, when I first started thinking about social work, I was thinking about it in terms of people who were on the ground dealing with the messiness, right? I think when you think about social work now, you think about clean and professional and helping people get resources, right? But this idea of being on the ground with people as they structurally want something different.
Right.
I think we've lost that piece around structure and the impact of things that are here. To me, structure means things that are here before you're born, that as you move into, you have some sense of the resonance of them or the dissonance of them. And those structural pieces are a hindrance. To me, a social worker is supposed to be somebody who looks to their left and looks to their right and goes, my people are hurting, and I have some skills or some means to bear to upend what is hurting them, right? I think social work has lost that notion. I think social work has lost the notion of service to people by helping them, by lending a hand to help them remove the yoke of oppression. And to listen to y'all talk about what you're trying to do there, to me, I think, here's what I think. I think if you do exactly what it is that you guys say you want to do, people are going to get fired. And I think if you guys are not thinking that the things that you're doing are going to get somebody fired, I don't think you're thinking about this in the right way. I think you have to be thinking about this, that you are going up against a structure whose livelihood is dependent on maintaining and keeping in equilibrium white body supremacy. At the same time, they will talk to you about racial equity. At the same time, people will talk to you about, and people won't be able to suss the difference between racial equity and racial justice. They are not the same thing, but we use those terms interchangeably. And if what you're talking about is justice, somebody in your crew is going to get fired. Somebody in leadership is going to lose their job or prestige. So because that is the only way that you know that you're going in the right direction, is that the system has such a inordinate response to justice, because the system is unjust. The system has a superordinate response to it. That's the way you know you're going in the right direction. So, brother, one of the things I want to say to you directly is, if you are any part of this, you must have community around you as you do this. You must have people not within the institution, outside of the institution, that hold you, that rock with you, that feed you, that let you wail, that let you cuss, that tells you ain't nothing wrong with you. And anybody of culture that's listening to me, you must understand that. And any white bodies who call themselves allies, there's a difference between being a what I call a declarative ally and being a functional operational ally. A declarative ally are white bodies who will tell you, I am an ally. They declare. It's a self-declaration, right?
Right.
What they're trying to say is, I am declaring myself independent from those people that are really the racist, that are really, tied to the system. That's different than an operational ally. Operational ally, you know them by what they do, not what they say. You know them by when stuff comes up around how we're going to deal with a particular thing. They can hold on to themselves, and they have a people that will hold them accountable because they've cultivated that community among white bodies. So I think that the role of social work has become too clean, too professional, too removed. And if what you guys are talking about is doing it in a different way, you are going to come face to face with the apparatuses of power, and and they will look like allies. They will look like people who want to do the right thing. They will look like people who want to help. And in an embodied way, y'all have to begin to cultivate the ways in which you will articulate those things that tell your gut that something is off. That even people who are saying that they want to do this and it's important, and your gut is telling you, talk about the 6 intelligences, that your gut is telling you that is an intelligence. When your gut is telling you that something is amiss, but it doesn't tell you what that something is, that means that you have yet to cultivate how to discern. And to me, in the work that you guys are doing with students, the work is not just about getting them to understand what racial justice is. It's about getting them to begin to go through the tempering and conditioning process of discernment, pulling apart what from what, so you can begin to work with it, so you can begin to tell the difference, so you can begin to be tempered and conditioned in a way that will actually allow this idea of a new idea of social work to emerge. If you're not doing that, you're basically complicit with what has already been. That's my first.
Thank you for that. Students will come to me and they'll say, I wasn't sure what happened there. And I'll say to them, did you feel it before you understood it? They say like something was going on, but I wasn't sure what it was, and I have these memories myself of, walking into a store, right? And being like, I don't know what this is, but there's something here, and then turning around and looking behind me and somebody's following me, right? It's a store clerk following me, I don't know what's going on, but I'm sitting in this classroom right now and something's not vibrating the right way with me. What is it? The teacher's coming after me all of a sudden.
Right.
So I hear that feeling that you get. We oftentimes don't even know how to describe it, but it's something in the air around us.
Yeah. So let me say this to you, brother. So let me do a loving just correction that might help the students that you're working with, right? Instead of saying the word feelings, say the word experience. What are you experiencing right now? Because in our mind, we have been conditioned to feelings as an emotional state. And when you say that to another human being, what they do is they start to look for emotional qualities, right? And what might be happening might not be emotional, right? And so one of the things I talk about, so when you say that to a student, and you say, what are you experiencing? And here, let me help you a little bit with that. When I ask you, what are you experiencing? What I'm asking you about are the 6 intelligences of creation. And the 6 intelligences of creation are vibes and vibrations, images, thoughts, fleeting, pictures, right? Cognition, right? So it's vibes, it's images and thoughts, it's meaning making, it's behavior and urges, it's affect and feelings, and it's sensate or sensations. So all 6 of those intelligences are ways that I can give context to that student that's standing in front of me, and I can go through either one of them in order to help them develop an embodied context. Because when they say something is happening, what they're saying is, my ancestors there were things that was happening to my ancestors that got passed down, that got passed down. And now when I'm picking up on this stuff in the environment, I don't have an articulation for it. And so, but it's not just emotion. And so when you say, what's the vibe you were picking up on? Was there a texture to it? Was there a weight to it? Was there a charge to it? Was there a direction to it? What is it? Was it vibratory? Was it an urge? Now you're working in an embodied way with those, and I'm talking particularly now to Black and brown and indigenous bodies, right? That when you give that context, what happens is that their body begins to recognize it, and you end up disrupting the idea that they are defective or something is wrong with them that they can't articulate. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense.
So use the term experience as opposed to feeling. Feeling is just an emotion is one intelligence. What we want to do in the School of Social Work is hone the other 5 intelligences, because cognition and logic and objective thinking has crowded out the other 5 intelligences. And what we want to do is begin to expand people's resonance and sense and discernment of the other intelligences. That's what a social worker does. What a social worker does is that they move into that space and they're able to pick up on not just body language, because people, did you read the body language? It's not that. It's what is there, is what's a social worker should be able to pick up on what is not present but should be. That's a honing and a cultivation that your School of Social Work could be honing and cultivating. A different a social worker that has worked with these pieces, so when they move into a place, they move into that place because they come from a place that has allowed them to cultivate those pieces and hone those pieces. So they hear different things in the throat, they hear different vibratory pieces, they pick up in terms of what's being broadcast, they pick it up and they're able to work with it as opposed to needing to override it in order to get people services. Am I making sense?
You're making sense. I like chuckled to myself a little bit because whenever this conversation comes up, and Boston College hasn't been my only institution. In previous institutions, you keep getting this pushback about evidence-based practice, right? Everyone flies off their seat about what about evidence-based practice?
Yeah. Let me say something about evidence-based practices. Most of the people on this call ain't gonna like this next thing I'm gonna say, but I don't care. How come we don't slow down and examine and interrogate that? How come we don't slow down and interrogate evidence-based practice? How come we don't push that through a white body supremacist lens? Why don't we, like, the moment that somebody says something is being peer reviewed or is evidence-based practice, we get all mushy, right? Like, oh my God, it's peer reviewed, it's evidence-based, right? But we never talk about the fact that that idea of evidence-based practices grew out of something. It grew out of a context, right? It grew out of a context that suggested that what you can see is real and what you cannot is not. That let me say this. When creation decided it was going to have a representation of humanness on this planet, it decided that first representation was going to be a Black woman first.
Come on now. For me,
if you ask people if you ask people now, the image of the Black woman, it is not the image that all human life came through her. And everything has been turned upside down. And if you say that to somebody, and that to me, people can contort that and have that be something, well, that's an opinion. That's not really evidence. That's absolutely is evidence-based, but it comes through a particular mooring that I have, right? A particular understanding that I have. Most people don't have that particular mooring and that particular understanding. So the idea of evidence-based really does mean what lines up in ways that can either keep the system moving along as it is or begin to disrupt the system. And so for me, my rubric for whether or not something is something should be pursued is whether or not it is helpful or not. Is the way that I'm looking at this thing helpful to the students that are in front of me? Or does it hinder them at some point? Is there a bottleneck? But when I'm talking to a Black or a Indigenous or a brown body student, and they're starting to go along the line of only thinking that anything that is real has to be evidence-based, right? In terms of evidence being what other people have said is valid. If that is the road that somebody is going on, and then I say to them, pause. What are you experiencing in terms of vibration? And you allow them to work with the vibration of it, and you allow them to hone that vibration. Now all of a sudden the evidence is different. It's temperate. The temperance of that evidence is different, right? And so the idea of evidence-based is in and of itself, I believe, a facet of white body supremacy. I believe it. I think that the idea, because the books, like I can tell you, my mother is a PhD. My mother is a professor in Texas, right? When my mother was my mother got all the way through defending her dissertation, right, at a school. This is how bad my mother is. She went all the way through her dissertation, and got to a point to where she was needing to defend. Went through her defenses, and my mother had so many Black people, authors and articles and stuff like that, that were cited and all that, and they made her defend it and all that. And she knew what she was doing. And they said that the sources that she used weren't validated sources, right? So when she brought somebody forth like Ivan Van Sertima, or brought somebody forth like Diop, or brought somebody forth, right? So they stopped her from getting her PhD. My mother started all over again and went to a different school and got her PhD, right? So for me, this evidence-based thing sounds like it is just an objective, type of thing, but we know it is not. We know tenure is not an objective-based thing, right? So as a social worker, we have to be clear about what it is that we're doing and not sell our students on the same old rubric, right? That perpetuates white body supremacy. So I think, so my whole thing is, I try a lot of different things. And what I say to people when they say, well, where did you get that from? I said, did what I say, did you find it helpful? Yeah, but no, pause right there. Pause right there. Don't go into the narrative. Pause right there. Deepen the sense of what I've done or what we're doing together has been helpful. Deepen that sense before you can ask me the next question. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
That's why I'm saying to you, brother, that's why I'm saying, if y'all are doing what you say you're doing, people are going to come after you because there's money tied to evidence-based. There's power and prestige tied to, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And you coming in here talking about this shit around teaching social workers how to, right? There's a cost to be paid for that. And I don't want y'all moving along and then all of a sudden something happens and brother Guntam, something happens to him and you'll say, well, what happened? Why is he get what, why are people stop, right? You don't be surprised. You understand, oh, this is the function. This is how that works. Right?
I'm still here, Resmaa.
I see. I know. But if y'all doing what you say you're gonna do, this is my opinion. If y'all are doing what you say you want to do, people are coming for y'all. That's how this thing works. And I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm not trying none of that. I just know how this system works. This system does not want to move off of white supremacy. It has gotten rich off of it.
When you say that, you remind me of, just that phone call with my dad, the conversations we'll have, and I'll be telling him about, new programs and new ideas. And he'll say something like, well, just be careful, and I always think to myself, in the light of the fact that being Black and keeping my mouth shut at these institutions hasn't worked either. I just wonder what other choice do I have?
That's it. The be careful is a communal temperature check, right? I hear what you're saying, baby. You're doing all that good stuff, baby. I hear you. You're doing good stuff for your people. I hear you. Be careful. This system is feral. What happened when this young 20-year-old brother came upon a structure, born into a philosophy in which the white body deems itself the supreme standard by which all bodies, humanity shall be measured. And he was born into a structure by which the policing apparatus has never been cleaved away from the white supremacist apparatus as it relates to the Black body. There is no point in our history of policing in America where policing and white body supremacy have not been braided together. There is no point. So let me say this. One of the things I've been saying lately is this. Stop equating vocation with virtue. Because somebody becomes a police officer does not automatically equate to virtue. And so the policing system that we have is not virtuous. It is feral when it comes to Black bodies. And we keep trying to make it be something that it's not. Bull Connor was a representation of that feralness. But there are 1,000 Sheriff Bull Connors. Now, the woman who killed Brother Wright was at one point the head of the police union. 25 years she's been a police officer. The system is feral. What happens is not episodic, it's structural. So are we churning out social workers that can hold that understand that don't gaslight the people that they're trying to be of service to? That's for me the key of whether or not we're a good social work program, right? That we help people to understand the context by which they have been born into, right? And not teach them gaslighting phrases and terms and all of that different type of stuff, that they hold it. When I was going through, there was this whole idea of, how do we get people in a room together and start to talk about race? How do we reach across the aisle, right? Now when I hear stuff like that, I go, you trying to get your hand out my pocket, the whole Malcolm X saying, get your hand out my pocket, get your hand out my pocket, right? That's what I start thinking about, right? Being in the game this long, the social work game this long, that's what I start thinking about. What would it be like to churn out social workers who had a sense of the world as it is, not this kind of formulaic understanding of it. So that's what I think.
I mean, for all the students and faculty and staff, all my colleagues listening right now, while we're at the process of breaking apart the virtue and vocation piece for police, let's also do that for social work as a profession.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think I'm getting pretty tired of, oh, well, we're social workers, so we all know and we all understand.
Yeah. Let me say something. I'm writing my next book right now, writing my next 2 books right now. One of the things that I've been really, really clear on is that this is if this really is a structure, right, that is predicated on the white body deeming itself the standard of humanness, and every other body is a deviance from that standard, right? And I said this before last time. Remember, the race question in this country is actually a species question. The term race denoted, before it got applied to human beings, denoted species. It still denotes species. You won't hear people say it, but the underlying subtext and the underlying weaving through every institution is Brother Samuel a human or not? And the answer systemically and structurally is no. 3/5 was not just about voting and representation. It came out of a context by which the 5 superpowers of their time that got rich off of land, of annexing and stealing and genociding people off of land and enslaving people, those 5 superpowers got rich and wealthy off of these pieces around white body supremacy. They shared somebody in the Netherlands shared their philosophical understanding of who the Black person was and who the savage Indian was and who the yellow menace was over there, right? And shared that philosophy with the people in England. And then people wrote plays about it in England. And then they wrote plays, and then the people in Spain, right? It is a knowledge helix. White supremacy has a knowledge helix among those 5. This is why Latin is an organizing thing. Greek is an organizing thing. There was not one class I took in my master's level social work class that did anything with that type of stuff, that gave any room for that to be present. It has to be present if what we're going to do is churn out social workers that help communities remove the yoke of this stuff, of these oppressions.
Thank you. So I lost track of time. We're actually at time now. I feel like we could keep talking for another hour.
I'll tell you what, Zanab is gonna get mad at me, but I'll give us another 10 minutes. Zanab's gonna be mad, but let's do another 10.
I appreciate that. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Can you mentioned a term that I'm hoping that you would talk a little bit about in the face of so much white-bodied supremacy. I wonder about disruptive healing.
Mm.
And I wonder if you could talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of why I'm so tired and part of why things are just coming in on me right now is that I'm holding a lot of people. I'm holding, and I'm not doing therapy. I'm holding a lot of people in my community where they reach out and I'm just on the phone or on Zoom and we don't even say anything. They're rocking. They're crying. They're laughing. They're raging. You know, a friend of mine, Brother Ken Hardy, said this thing to me the other day, blew my mind. He said, brother, rage is anger that has aged.
Hmm.
And so Black bodies have never been able to express that anger. And as a matter of fact, it was beat out of them. It was raped out of them. It was tortured out of them. It was terrorized out of them, right? Not out of them, but it was terrorized, right? So it comes up where we are really brutal to other Black bodies. That's part of the condition, right? And so for me, the healing spaces or the healing that social workers have to do is that they have to create room for communities to reclaim and reestablish their own healing ways. Give context to it, support it, hold it, so people can actually say, "Oh, that might be something that I can use." Right? When I'm talking and I'm working with bodies now, I understand that when we watch something happen like what happened to Brother Wright, that what shows up in the room is historical, it's intergenerational, it's persistent institutional, and then it's our own personal stuff that all gets blown in together. So when that stuff shows up, it shows up all at one time and it overwhelms us and we can't articulate it. And what a social worker can do is a social worker can help to slow it down so people can begin to discern it, slow it down so people can begin to move one piece forward and work with that piece that might be historical, that has landed on their nervous system because it's been passed down, because there's been no reprieve for those bodies. And then they are allowed to rock with it when it shows up. They're allowed to vibe with it when it shows up. They're allowed to touch places when it shows up on themselves. And we create the room as social workers for that to occur. So the healing piece is, most people think that healing is giving people direction. Most social workers are trained to give direction, not pace, not stay behind the client so the client can tell them what's what. Most social workers are told to have the answer, not allow the thing to emerge that needs to emerge that can heal, right?
Right.
And so my piece around healing, able to hold it and not crack the charge of race in this country, in particular this country, is at least 400 to 500 years old. And so what we're going to do is get people in the room to talk about race, and then we wonder why it just blows apart. We have not conditioned a container that can withhold and withstand the charge of race. So when it comes up in our classroom, people blow out of the room because you haven't taken the time to condition the container.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're just making me think, even with classrooms, my students on here will know that I oftentimes start classes with, this is your class.
Yeah.
You have ownership over the class, whether I'm here or not here, you run the class. And
Right.
I usually get some kind of like,
yeah. Because here's two things that happen with that. Is that to some people, they hear that and they hear, oh, we have some room. To other people who hear that, is where Here we have nobody that's going to watch for the fact that we're going to be brutalized in a fucking place that's founded on land that was stolen. Right? You see what I mean? So for me, there has to, I think even before you get into a classroom, there has to be some type of so I do this thing that I call a year of learning. And when I do a year of learning, organizations, I tell organizations, when I work with organizations, I say this, I say, you want me to come, okay? You want me to come, you want me to do some work with your organization. If you don't have at least 10% of the people that are willing to go through a year with me first, I will not come. So if you got a group of 500 people, if you don't have at least 50 people that will go through a year process with me first, then I won't do this work. And the reason why I say that is that I need 50 people in that organization that are willing to go through that process with me. So I get so people and you don't so your people. One of the things I've been saying is that your people are not the people that you start with, it's the people that you end with. And so the 50 people I can begin to create a container so the actual stuff around race can be held. But what happens is that you have people that come in and immediately start doing the work with the people, and then when stuff gets too hot, the pressure cracks the container, right? And people say, I don't want to go to another one of those trainings. I don't want to be around. I don't want to do that. So what you have to do is spend at least a year building that container of people, right? And then when you start with 50, you'll probably be left with 17, right? But those 17 people you've developed some embodied alignment with. You've developed they understand the vibes when they come into the room. They understand the meaning making. They understand the urges that got thwarted. They understand all of those pieces, right? So now when you roll that out to the larger organization, you got 17 other people that can hold that space with you. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Most places don't do that. And what happens is they keep spending all of this money doing DEI work and implicit bias work, and they wonder why it's just the wheels keep spinning. It's because they don't have so if I come there and I do work, all of the onus is on me to teach white people how to do better. Right? But that's not enough fuel, right? That's not enough conditioning to allow transformation to occur. You have to build a container. You have to build a living, embodied, anti-racist container, not non-racist. There's no such thing as a non-racist. It's either you racist and you're complicit with the system, or you're doing something to destroy it. That's it. There is no middle ground. There is no such thing as a non-racist. And most of the time when you hear people say, like whenever some big celebrity gets into trouble, right? They say something real foul, or somebody pulls up a tweet where they just said something real foul. And then the first thing that they say is, I'm not racist. Or one of their friends say they're not racist. Notice it's always self-declarative. It's not, I've been doing work in the community around uprooting racism and I am anti-racist, right? You have never heard somebody who just said something foul say, I am involved with a community that is anti-racist, and you never heard that. What you hear is people declaring that they're not racist, or them declaring themselves as not racist, right? That's because what they think is that not racist and racist means a not racist is somebody who's bad or who's good, and a racist is somebody who's bad. That is how people frame it, right? If I'm nice, right? One of the things that I say is that I like it that white people don't spit in my food and don't call me the N-word, right? But that is inadequate to deal with the brutality of what has happened to Brother Floyd or Brother Wright or Sister Breonna. Your individual niceness is inadequate to deal with the brutality that you benefit from by being in a white body. Is inadequate. So you can keep telling me you nice. You can keep telling me that you date a black man. You can keep telling me that you got little black babies or Guatemalan babies or whatever you want to say. It is inadequate to deal with what happened to Brother Wright on Sunday. And as social workers, if you ain't about that, then you're complicit.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I don't want Zainab to be mad at me. So I'm gonna stop us right there. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Each time I get a chance to meet with you, I just feel like my whole consciousness gets raised. So I appreciate you very much.
Love you, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too.
I'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Resmaa.
All right. Bye-bye.
So welcome back to the main room. And we just have another couple of minutes to have Dean Yadama bring us our evening to a close.
I don't have anything profound to say, except that what just happened, there's still, I know we're all processing. And the question for us is, and for all of you individually, and Resmaa really posed that, the warning he gave. It's very interesting because I heard that same warning when I was working with tribal groups in India who are very similar, in a very similar state. And I know what he's saying. I know a lot of, today, all day, I was in a National Association of Deans meeting. You should know, particularly for students, you should know this. The entire last, from about 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., what Resmaa talked about was the discussion is how do we respond as a school of social work, and what kind of competencies, you know, that's sort of the professional language, but the discussion turned to what Resmaa was talking about, where we don't really incorporate what social workers are doing around the world into our curriculum. You don't listen to these multitude of voices, professional voices, because there is a lot of stuff that is going on in social work that is in line with what Resmaa is warning about. And people, you know, two examples that we discussed, one of them, two of them are very near and dear to me. One is I'll give you two examples from India. One is on domestic violence and the other is on public food distribution. Public distribution system in India is very corrupt. A lot of this, the PDS system is put in place to help the very poor, but a lot of pilferage. Social work is at the forefront of opening and creating transparency in the PDS systems through advocacy, using the legal system, using community advocacy and so on. And they've managed to open it up. The other example is social work is also at the forefront of giving voice to women who, particularly in Muslim communities, and this is sort of on the knife's edge in India right now because there's a lot going on. But if I were to use an example from about 10 years ago, the public interest litigation system that allows people to file a petition directly with the Supreme Court is in the law. But laws, like public distribution system is there for the poor. Where social work comes in is to enable those systems to work for those it is meant for. And I think it is that fulcrum. We are that fulcrum. And we have lost that. And I think that's part of the lesson I'm taking from Resmaa. And going back to that example, the second example of the public interest litigation. So social work advocacy agencies working with Muslim women who could easily be divorced by saying talaq, talaq, talaq 3 times by a man, got voice through the profession and the legal regime that exists that allows women to go directly to the Supreme Court to hear their case. A 3-judge bench has to convene a hearing and rule. Those are the kinds of things that we will have to rethink how the profession will engage. And that will only happen when we in the schools of social work, and I'm not talking about students now, I'm talking about myself and my colleagues. We in the schools we should first say yes to a new idea. Listen to it. Never start with a no. Because no is for those who are already doing well, comfortable. Yes invites new ideas. At least entertains the possibility for a moment that a new idea might get some fresh soil, water to grow. And I think that's really the lesson that I have taken from Resmaa tonight. You might have your own. I don't want to be the last word, but I want to turn it to Sam, who so beautifully engaged Resmaa these 2 last discussions. And I really want Sam to have the last word to say.
Thank you, my friend. So my last word for you is, let me start by just saying thank you to the entire team that helped to put this all together. To Kathleen Flinton for her leadership, to Jordan McGurk for his leadership, Rebecca McDade, our brand new Director of Marketing Communications, for joining our team and immediately jumping in to provide support and to guide us, help us come up to best practices with communication so quickly. Big thank you to Maggie Price, who is like brand new and just got here and did a phenomenal job. The Bodies of Culture group, Teresa Shermer for helping in the White Body group. Inevitably, my dad always says, be careful who you think, because you'll thank them in the pulpit and you'll have to answer for it in the parking lot. So, inevitably, I will have missed some folks, but there are so many people who are involved in this effort to get us here, this months-long journey to bring Resmaa here and then finally realize that vision. So, just a big shout out to everyone. You know who you are. You were directly involved. And then finally, I would say, I want to leave us with a charge to go forward. And as we move away from this virtual space, to really think about what you've encountered over the last hour and a half. In particular, the words that Resmaa left us with. It can be easy to dismiss someone when they're hurting, to describe it as an irrational emotion and to leave it alone, right? And to walk away from it. And oftentimes we're most conditioned to do this as social workers because we're empathic and we experience so many different people's emotions. I invite you not to turn that off today. I invite you to feel what you feel and to let that run through your body and to pay attention to that. And as Resmaa so gently corrected me, to move beyond feelings into experiences, right? And to recognize the many ways and discern the many ways that occurs in the body for you. And then as you sit with those things, Resmaa has provided us with a really important template for work, one that I think sews together the indigenous knowledge of so many different ancient peoples. So pick up the book. I'm going to be LeVar Burton for a second. Don't take my word for it. Read the book. It is in the library. You can download the ebook and take a look at it. You can order it wherever you get your books from. But invest some time, please, into really thinking about this. And I know we're right at the end of the semester. This is a wonderful set of activities to practice through the summer for those of us who will be coming back to join us in the fall. With that being said, I'll pass the very last word over to Kathleen and take us away.
I don't know that I have anything to add to that other than a much gratitude for everyone making the time to be here this evening. And the charge is clear for the work that we have for our community and our profession. So please take what you were feeling tonight and carry it forward.
We will be here, Kathleen, myself, Maggie, and I think Teresa will be here. For anyone who needs to do some verbal processing, we'll be hanging out for a little while after everyone's gone. So have a good night.